Because there's a story, and you want to know how it began, and you want to know how it ends, right? My name is Giorgio Lupinacci. I live in Canada. This is my 1985 Alfa Romeo GTV 6. Giugiaro design, Busso engine. I saw my first Alfa Romeo when I was about 7 years old. And that image of that car never left me. Years later, when I was in high school, when I turned 16, I bought my first Italian car. It was a Fiat Spider. I spent everything that I had putting it back together, and I drove it. And it changed me and how I felt about cars. You know, my friends had all kinds of cars back then. Some had new cars, some had old cars. I was basically one of the only ones that had an Italian car. And it just was a special feeling. So a year later, I decided to revisit that memory of that Alfa Romeo, and I ended up getting an Alfa Romeo Spider. It was my first Alfa Romeo. And since then I've had 13 Alfa Romeos. They have the proverbial soul that I guess a lot of cars don't have. Whether that's real or not, it's something that I feel, and a lot of people that do buy Italian cars. So 2 years ago, I got a phone call from a friend of mine in British Columbia. And he said, Giorgio, he said, I think I have a special car for you. An original one owner, 1985, Alfa Romeo GTV 6. And it ended up being an original car with less than 20,000 kilometers on it. But it sat for 29 plus years. So I had a task in front of me. I was really passionate about the car, but I had no idea what condition or how far I was going to take this car. Whether it needed a full restoration, whether the mechanicals needed to be totally refurbished, the body, I had no idea until I got it home. And I spent the whole day, coffee after coffee, espresso after espresso, dissecting the car, looking at it. Up until that point, I didn't have an Alfa Romeo for almost 15 years. Family life catches up, you have other priorities. But I did buy a Fiat Abarth, which was another small Italian car with great history. But the Alfa was different. It's a 6-cylinder, and it was designed by Giuseppe Busso. Now, you got an actual person that designed this engine. It wasn't made by a computer or a group of engineers, but when a single individual puts his name behind an engine, it's special. And then there's the body. The body on the GTV6, it's polarizing. Some people don't like it, some people do, but it has influenced a lot of design after this came out. Definitely has so. So the engine itself, when I actually fired it up for the first time, I don't think I've ever heard a sound quite as glorious and mechanical as this V6, especially when I got into the higher rev range, which people described as almost a vortex sound that I don't think I've ever experienced in any other engine. So for the time, this car was very special, and it still is. I just started enjoying the car. I started driving it this summer with my children, which they just love. They just gravitate to the design of this car. They say it's a time machine. So every time I take them in the car, I explained to them this is what it felt like back in 1985 to drive this car. The smells, the sounds, the feeling it gives you when you take it on the open road. And there's not many cars that, that do that.